Andy Biggs. Thank you so much for joining us today and this morning as I try to figure out how to fill in here for Sandra Smith. I do want to ask you about the timeline, because the deal that was made between the Taliban and the Afghan government is supposed to come to fruition in April of 2021. Taliban hasn't made good on its deal, part of the deal at this point. Is this a little premature to try to bring everyone home before the holidays, before that deal has a chance to mature?
Well, Dana, good morning, and glad you're filling in. And I will tell you this, I don't think it's premature. We've been trying to draw down and bring troops home now for almost 4 full years. And the deal with the Taliban is not fully supposed to come until the next spring. But you know what? We still continue to spend dollars. We still continue to put our troops at risk over there, and we're not seeing any measurable progress as far as what ultimately became the new objective, which was nation or state building. And that's not happening over there. The stability that's in the region now in any form is south of there, and as a result of President Trump's policies. Well, you're not seeing much going on in Afghanistan or in Iraq as far as stability. And so keeping our troops there just puts them in hazard and in harm's way. President
Trump had to come into his administration in 2017 and defeat ISIS because of that vacuum that was allowed to exist under President Obama's leadership. Now we know that ISIS is actually kind of moving into Afghanistan, seeking to have a relationship with the Taliban. Any concern there?
Yeah, I mean, there's always concern there, but I think what's going to happen as a realist in my interpretation of foreign policy and international relations, I think what you're going to see is there's going to be some balancing. First of all, it's going to be internal balancing within Afghanistan. Afghanistan is effectively, I don't want to say a failed state, but it certainly is a state that there's a lot of turmoil. So you'll see some internal balancing, and they'll settle that thing out. And the same thing in Iraq to a certain extent as well. And when that happens, you'll see some stability eventually come in. It may not be the type of government or regime that we want or would like necessarily. It certainly won't be a Western-style democracy, but in the end, it may actually provide some stability for that nation and stability in the region. Whereas right now, it's all been laid upon us, and I'm not sure that we've been as successful as we'd like to have been.
The acting defense secretary on U.S. Said, his name is, of course, Chris Miller. That was just a change from last week in case people don't remember the name. He said ending wars requires compromise and partnership. We met the challenge. We gave it our all. Now it's time to come home. So that might be a clue as to what they are thinking there in the Trump administration at this point. Can I ask you one domestic political and policy question? Because I know that you have been long interested in the issue of Social Security, and the Biden, an incoming Biden administration, President-elect Biden, this was his Social Security plan. He wants to expand the payroll tax on people earning over $400,000, do a 12.4% payroll tax split between employer and employee, and he thinks that this would project to extend Social Security solvency by 5 years. And Social Security is something nobody likes to talk about it, but you are willing to. What do you think about this idea?
I'm not sure that I've seen the actual CBO run of numbers on what he intends to go with. But I will tell you this, we do need to find a way to keep our promises to the people we've promised that they would receive Social Security benefits. But I think that when I talk to constituents all under the age of 45, for instance, they will tell me, Andy, we don't think that there's going to be anything left for us. And we really are seeing this tremendous amount of pressure imposed upon workers, and so we have to keep our promises, but we have to make it solvent, and that's going to take some tough discussion. And I'm glad that he actually proposed something. I'm just not sure how well it will work, and to disincentivize people to work, which is what he's doing when he says everybody over $400,000. So you're attacking small businesses right there. That may be problematic as well. I think we need to come to some real grips with how we keep the promises, but understanding that we're going to have to make some tough decisions going forward.
We do. It's interesting. It's a fascinating policy issue, and nobody likes to talk about it, but we got to talk about it if we're going to solve it. Thank you so much, Congressman.